So should we start the class? I think everyone is on board. Let's start.
Yes, there is Saranai.
Everyone's nice, so we can start, right? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So first I would like to pay respect to the elder senior bhikkhunis. So dear bhikkhunis and samaneris, so today is our last class, and if you have any questions from previous sessions also you can ask. So today I thought of doing like the road map to Nibbana. So over our first few lessons, we have studied the Four Noble Truths. We started from there. And the psychology of how suffering arises moment to moment. And we did study the Paticca Samuppada. That's where it gets explained. And how to train our thoughts using the suttas, the advice from the Buddha, how we are going to do it. And what we have to do is follow the Noble Eightfold Path. So when navigating a dense forest, you need a single reliable path. The Buddha declared that there is only one path that leads to complete purification of the mind and the end of suffering. That is the Noble Eightfold Path. So the only path to awakening. So how do we know that the Noble Eightfold Path is the only way? We find this declaration explicitly in two places in our scriptures. There is other places as well from Dhamma Sutra, from the first day, from the first sermon. That and then there is the specific ones also in Mahaparinibbana Sutta. So on it, when Buddha was passing away in Kusinara, surrounded by these weeping disciples, the Buddha was approached by a wanderer named Subhadda. So Subhadda asked if the other religious teachers of India had realized the truth. The Buddha gave him a very powerful and a direct answer, saying, in whatever Dhamma and discipline the Noble Eightfold Path is not found, there's no true ascetics of the first, second, third, or fourth stage in found. But in whatever Dhamma and discipline the Noble Eightfold Path is found, there is a true ascetic is found. So the Buddha explained that the four stages of awakening exist only where the Noble Eightfold Path is practiced. Sotapanna, the stream enterer, the one who has entered the stream to Nibbana, is on the way. And Sakadagami, the once returner, one who has greatly weakened the fetters. And Anagami, the non-returner, the one who is completely free from karma and patiga. So the desires for sensual pleasures and the hatred part. Then the Arahant, the enlightened one who has completely eradicated all the taints and who freed himself or herself from suffering. The Buddha concluded with these encouraging words, if these monastics live rightly, the world will not be empty of arahants. If Buddha said, if people until the people or the monks and the nuns or the fourfold assembly, until they walk on this Noble Eightfold Path, the world will not be emptied of Arahant. So what does that mean? It's not from the outside that this teaching or the Buddha's dispensation can get destroyed. But if we start to not to practice this in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path, and we started to practice, doing this, doing that, someone teaches this, someone teaches that, and we follow them as the teacher, not the Buddha Dhamma, then we are in danger. Because if we are not following the Noble Eightfold Path. So it's very important that we practice in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path. Then there is this in the Dhammapada, a section. The Buddha reinforced this in the Maghavagga, the chapter on the path. Of all paths, the Eightfold Path is the best. This is the only path. There is no other for the purification of vision. Follow this path and you will escape the bonds of Mara. So you can see that. And then there is this Samma Ditti Sutra in Majjhima Nikaya, the 9th Sutta, and it holds a master key to the map. First, let's go through this, and then we can come back and discuss deeply. So if the Noble Eightfold Path is our roadmap, how do we use it? In the Samma Ditti Sutta, in Venerable Sariputta provides a comprehensive guide on how to develop the Samma Ditti, that right view. He takes 16 deep aspects of the Dhamma and shows that they all are unlocked by the exact same key. Venerable Sariputta goes through so how to enter to this? How do we do this? If someone wants to find freedom from suffering, the first one, the Venerable Sariputta says, know as the unwholesome as unwholesome and the wholesome as wholesome, knowing the kusala and akusala and eradicating the akusala and developing the kusala. Only if you know what is akusala, what is kusala, then only we can do something about it. So the first thing Venerable Sariputta says is one must know what is akusala, the unwholesome, and what is kusala, what is this wholesome. So from that, we can start our path. So when we know that, then the next thing we have to do is the virya, the effort. We had to put an effort. Because everywhere Buddha had shown, that don't give in to this akusala or this unwholesome. If it comes up, arises, we have to straight away eradicate it. And also we need to take measures to not to let the unarisen, unwholesome thoughts to arise. And we can't be just satisfied by that. And we need to then develop the unarisen, wholesome, and then cultivate it until the 7 factors of enlightenment is fulfilled, come to the maturation. So here when we know this, when we can sort out and when we can deeply understand what is kusal, akusal, we enter to the path. And everywhere, for every single point, Venerable Sariputta explains that the noble disciple must understand 4 things. The topic, what is it, and its origin, the moola, or how did it come to be, and then its cessation. And the path leading to its cessation is a noble eightfold path. So for all these 16 points, the nutriment, suffering, aging and death, birth, and the bhava, existence, becoming, then the upadana, the personalizing, tanha, this the vedana, phassa, that experience, the six sense bases called salayatana, and this from the nama rupa, name and form, and then vijnana, which is normally translated as consciousness, and sankhara, the mental constructions, ignorance, the avidya, and all the taints, the asava. So all these 16 steps, if we can start from this unwholesome, seeing unwholesome as unwholesome, and knowing what causes it, what is the root cause of it, and then the cessation of it and how to get rid of it, the path, and the wholesome, like that. Sariputta, Venerable Sariputta says, knowing all these 16 things and how they come to be, it's also like in the Four Noble Truths. Diagnosis, the problem, the cause of the problem, its cessation, and how to do it the way. So why is it important to know it in that way? This teaches us that no matter what problem we face in our monastic lives also, whether it is an emotional reaction or obsessive thinking or general suffering or the stress, anything, that the solution is also is always found when we look in line with this Noble Eightfold Path. We do not need 100 different techniques. We only need to apply the Noble Eightfold Path to bring the mind back to the balance. So it brings us to the, centers us to the where we should be in this present moment. We can't get lost in the past. We can't get lost in the future. But in the present moment, we need to apply the Four Noble Truths and walk on this Noble Eightfold Path. And when we do that, slowly, our selfishness, the self-centeredness, that ego, everything that came with that, the greed, hatred, delusion will start to diminish, will start to slowly go away. So more we practice that way, we can feel that we will relax, we will find comfort, peace of mind, and happiness. So this type of meditation is not something that we just practice while sitting or only when in the temple or only in the morning half an hour, only in the evening half an hour. The Buddha's way of meditation is 24 hours. It's like breathing is something very important. Yeah, that's what keeps us alive. So you just can't afford to breathe in the morning half an hour and half an hour in the evening and not breathe throughout the day. No, it doesn't happen like that. This true meditation also like that. Tittan charang nisinnowa sayanowa yavatassa vigadamitto. It needs to be practiced no matter how your body is going to be, whether it's standing, sitting, walking, lying down, working, eating, defecating, whatever you do. We need to be in the present moment with ourselves and always, contemplate along with this yoniso manasikara, along with the realities. And that's when, the true path is something that we have to stay on board all the time and practice all the time. That is the true meditation. Now, the section 3, putting the map into daily practice. I think I just stepped forward a bit on that. As bhikkhunis and samaneris, how do we walk this path moment to moment? So this path also can be categorized into 3 steps like prajna, sila, samadhi. Prajna part is the samma ditti, samma sankappa, right view, right intention. The sila part is the virtue, the right speech, action, livelihood, samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma jiva. So the tranquility, the samadhi part is the samma vayama, samma sati, samma samadhi, right effort, right, well, we'll go with the word mindfulness because it's commonly used, and the tranquility. So number 1, we start with wisdom, the panya. So throughout the day, remember that everything you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, feel is in the nature of anicca, dukkha, and anatta. So when you feel annoyed during chores or study, our right intention, the samma sankappa, to generate thoughts of loving kindness instead of reacting. So when we are facing the day-to-day things, whatever that the mind brings to, whether it's to do with the lust or greed or hatred or ill will or whatever, we need to be mindful of that state and then practice in accordance with the Dhamma. So what the Samma Sankappa is, that instead of developing thoughts of Kama Vitarka, Vyapada Vitarka, Hinsa Vitarka, we need to practice the opposite. Letting go of the seeking sensual pleasures, then letting go of ill way of thinking. That means thinking in the loving, kind, compassionate way. And then thinking with the non-violent way, not in the violent way, but in the compassionate way. That is practicing Nekkhamma Sankappa, Avyapada Sankappa, Vihinsa Sankappa. So we need to, in day-to-day life, we need to learn now not to selfishly think in terms of having fun, relaxing or having fun or finding happiness in that wrong ways. We have to give it up and then develop the correct way to think. So the proper meditation starts there with this attitude change. From selfishly wanting to relax and find happiness and have fun and have happiness just only for yourself and hurting, harming others, we need to learn to let go of that miccha sankappa, kama sankappa, vyapada sankappa, vihinsa sankappa. We need to stop thinking in those terms. We need to stop making concepts or interpreting things using those type of thoughts. We have to let go. And we need to practice the samma sankappa. That means we have to start thinking in this way. Nekkhamma sankappa, vyapada sankappa, vihinsa sankappa. Thoughts of renouncing this seeking sensual pleasures, thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of compassion. We need to use them when we face things to interpret that and form our thoughts in that way, proper way. So when we do that, it leads to the morals, ethics, the virtues. So when our mind is now purified with these good thoughts, we are getting rid of the toxic thoughts. We are developing these good thoughts, pure thoughts. So our speech, body, and action will follow that naturally. So samma vacha, samma kammanta, samma jiva will follow. So then this will lead to the tranquility of the mind, because more you think in the proper way, you're not creating any causes and conditions for the 5 hindrances to arise. You are not creating any reasons, any causes for the emotions to come. Now the mind is going to settle because all the chemicals going to subside, and the tranquility will start to manifest. When we stop disturbing the mind as it is, it will settle. It's like you take a cup of water. In its natural state, it's very stable. It's in a very balanced state. Only when we stir that it gets disturbed. Our mind also the same. Only when we stir with this wrong way of thinking, with miccha sankappa, that it gets stirred and it develops a kama, chanda, vyapada, tina, mitta, uddhacca, ukucca, vicikiccha, all these 5 hindrances, and leads to soka, parideva, dukkha, domanassa, upayasa, to all this physical, mental stress and suffering. But when we start to reverse it, when we start to stop stirring, we let it be. After some time, the water will start to settle and it will come to that balance point, very stable, no shaking. The same thing, that is the nature of our mood, the natural nature. It doesn't jump up and down by itself. Only it jumps up and down and get emotional or into motion when we create the causes and conditions. This is why the real path to meditation or real path to enlightenment is a noble eightfold path, and that has to be the meditation. We see, we just, without understanding, we just pick and choose and do what we like to do. Coming from this Hindu background, sometimes we bring this pranayama and we say, oh, we are doing, watching the breath and do this and that and the other. But if we don't know these theories that we need to purify the mind at the same time, without purifying the mind and without thinking in that way and without speaking, acting and living in that right way, we are not going to get much results. We can get temporarily relaxed, but we won't get much results. So that's why it's very important to start with prajna from sammaditi. It will come to the virtuous part, the arya sila. Arya kanta sila means that proper sila, proper virtues, proper conduct will come from internally. Before, it was the law and order, or the adults saying us to do this, do that. The parents, the teachers, the monks, the nuns, elders will tell us, do this, don't do that. So it was from heteronomous orders or influences. But now when someone correcting their thinking internally, and they come to this attitude change based on this understanding, it's autonomous now. It comes from within. Whether someone tells us to or not, whether there is a law abiding or not, but this will come from naturally. Not because we are afraid, not because we are expecting or wanting any reward. We are going to start to behave in a way that we understand no one likes to suffer and no one likes to be stressed. So therefore, I must not do these wrong things. If I don't like to suffer, others don't like, then therefore, don't do anything that brings stress or suffering to anyone. So in that way, we are going to self-regulate, self-observe these precepts, or we start to behave in a nice way, whether others are watching us or not, or whether they tell us or not. So that's when we call it the Arya Kanta Sila. When someone enters to the stream, their sila, their virtue, their conduct comes naturally. It's very natural to them. And that sila will lead to the samadhi. It's called, in that stanza, Buddha says, Naro sapanyo, aparamatang samadhi sanguttanika. The sila is apara mattang samadhi samutta nika. Apara means not from external, it's from internally, it's directing you. And this behavior will straight away will take you to the samadhi. Because this is not going to do any shaking, any movement, it won't lead to any emotions. It will only lead to settle, to stabilize, to tranquilize, peace, stillness. So samadhi means today it's being a lot of the time mistakenly people say when you sit and watch your breath for half an hour or watch your breath for belly for half an hour, oh, we get into samadhi. No. We get into hypnotized states and we feel half awake, half asleep. So very relaxed and very comfortable. When we get hypnotized, we are very relaxed. You know, nowadays that the hypnotist therapist can make you to be hypnotized by watching your breath or watching a tip of the pen or watching at a flame or a black dot. And then under the hypnosis, because your body goes into such relaxed state, the surgeons can do surgery. Nowadays in Western medicine, they use this under hypnosis surgeries for minor surgeries. Because when we are relaxed, there is another connection between the nerves and the pain. That is, when the body is relaxed, we don't feel pain. That's another connection. So when we hypnotize by watching our own breath, cutting off everything, and we just concentrate and focus, we get into hypnotic states to that type of different levels of waves. And we feel very relaxed and we are half awake, half asleep. And we think it's samadhi. Very good. I had a very good state and I was in a samadhi. But the people who call this type of a state as samadhi, by just concentrating on the breath or concentrating on anything, after they finish their meditation, they go back to their normal way of thinking, normal way of talking, normal way of behaving. So they all will start again the ugly thinking, the unwholesome thinking, and then the arguments and fights and jealousy and lust and all these things will be in action, and they just very normal and act in that way with oozing with defilements. But if you done it in the right way, how you get into the right samadhi, that samma samadhi, is by the cause for the samma samadhi, samma sati. Cause for the samma sati is samma vayama. When you practice samma vayama, the samma sati. When you practice samma sati, it brings you to samma samadhi. You see? So we can't avoid this right effort and get into a samma samadhi. What is right effort? All the time, not allowing any unarisen, unwholesome thought to arise. If there's a arisen, unwholesome thought, straight away take it out, get rid of it. And then we need to cultivate the unarisen, wholesome thought. That is practicing from mindfulness, the Satara Satipatthana, 4 foundations of mindfulness. And we need to cultivate that until the 7 factors of enlightenment come to the maturity. Arisen, wholesome thought, we need to protect it. Then only it will lead to the 7 factors of enlightenment to samadhi state. So you are in the samadhi. So Buddha shows very clearly this noble eightfold path is the path to come to samadhi. There's no right samadhi, the proper samadhi, outside of a noble eightfold path. It's very clear. Buddha says, when you practice this way, when you develop the Samya Drishti, Samma Sankappa, your mind starts to become very happy. Because you're very honest now, you're seeing the truth now, you're not allowing any of the normal negative way of thinking. You're getting rid of it. You're practicing the thoughts of giving up the sensual pleasures, giving up ill will, giving up cruelty, violence, and you're practicing the renouncing the sensual pleasures, the loving kindness, the compassionate way of thinking all the time. So it leads to not to develop 5 hindrances, but to develop the jhanangas, the real settling in of the mind. So when you practice in this right way, Buddha says, the mind gains a lot of happiness, preeti. Preeti appears in the mind. And when the preeti comes, preeti manasa kayo pasambati. When this preeti is taking place, the body start to relax. Preeti manasa kayo pasambati. Pasadda kayo sukhang vedeti. When the body is relaxed, sukha, you experience it as very comfortable, very light. It's at ease. Passadda kayo sukhang vedeti, sukhino chittang samadhyati. With this relaxed body, with this ease, with this comfort, experiencing this such comfort and bliss, you without stress means you're in a blissful state. It goes into the samadhi. Sukhino chittang samadhyati. This is the right way, step by step. Buddha is pointing how you will come to the right samadhi. Samahite chitta yata bhutam pajanati. So when your mind is absent of these 5 hindrances, it's gone. Your mind is in a balanced state, this chitta and mano, and you're in a very comfortable state. When you want to think, you can think, not under the influence of emotions, but seeing things as they are truly. You can grasp the truth. You can grasp what is it in terms with the reality. Samahite chitta yata bhutam pajanati. Yata bhuta jnana dassana appears only when you are in samadhi. Because all your tainted glasses, kama vitakka, vyapada, tina midda, uddachakukcha, vichikiccha is gone. Now you have a clear glass. You will see clearly. Every experience, the nature is anicca, dukkha, anatta. So when that is the case, you will see netam mama neto hamasmi neto attati. It was void of a self. We cannot personalize. There was no such thing to be called as this is the I, this is me, this is myself. That's gone. The ego is gone. You have awakened to the truth, who you are. Only Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana is at work. So we come to that realization. So that realization will come only under the samadhi. This is the proper samadhi called the samatha samadhi happens first when you're practicing the samma vayama, and then it will lead to the vipassana samadhi with the development of the 7 factors of enlightenment. So this way of practicing is 24 hours. Whatever you do with the body, whether it's sitting, walking, standing, whatever you do, as long as awake, we need to practice this. So that's the right samma samadhi. So a person cannot just get into a samadhi by just meditating in the half an hour, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, and you live the way you want throughout the day, developing all this nonsense and the negative thoughts and the defiled thoughts, the unwholesome thoughts. And we think that when we sit, we get into this hypnotic states, and we think, I'm very peaceful, I'm really relaxed, and I'm real. It doesn't happen that way. We are only deluding ourselves. So It's very important for us to understand there is no shortcuts for Samma Samadhi. Only through the Noble Eightfold Path, through Sammaditthi. And if someone comes to the Samma Samadhi, you get enlightened. That's it. If someone says they have a Samadhi, and if that's a Samma Samadhi, it's time that about to get enlightened. Because after coming to the Samma Samadhi, there is no more things to do. That's it. That's the end of the path. So you have arrived at the destination. Now, when we practice in our day-to-day life practically, and you can see this is part of life, this real proper meditation is not a separate thing from life. It's not separately you go and sit and do something, a special activity. No, it's the way of life now. Meditation becomes a way of life. Bhavana becomes way of life. So we need to live in that way. Like while breathing, we live the same way. While cultivating our mind 24 hours, that becomes a way of life. And that's why we have entered to the nunhood. So we can leave all the other obstruction things that obstructs us. And we have managed to take the shackles off, the chains off from bondages. So we can now purify our mind full time throughout the day. No matter what we do, we should be able to live in this pure way. So in the Sabbhasava Sutta, this sutta provides 7 clear methods to remove the deep taints, all these asavas of sensual desire, and the bhava, the existence, and also avijja, the ignorance from our minds. So there is 7 steps that Buddha says, or 7 things that we must practice in our life, depending on what we are facing. And if we practice this way, Buddha says we can come to our realization. So first one is from Dassanapahatabba. And in this sutta, actually, Buddha also says a very important thing. Buddha says, this can be practiced only by the one who is knowing, who knows and sees, who knows what is unwholesome and unwholesome, what is wholesome as wholesome, who have started the path with Sammaditthi. This activity is for the one who knows and sees. So these things cannot be practiced blindly. We need to be aware of what we are practicing. So the first taint is from Dassanapahatabba, the way we look at things. There are some taints that we have to remove it from the drushti. We have to remove the mithya drushti, and then through the samyak drushti only we can get rid of this particular taint. So it is with understanding the 4 noble truths instead of wandering in useless and normal way of thinking. We need to all the time see things in relation to the 4 noble truths: the problem, the diagnosis, the cause, and the cessation of it, and how we do it, the method. So all the time, when we think of I, me, myself, whether I exist in the past, whether what will be my future, and all the time when it's coming to I, me, myself, those things need to be tackled with this Dassanapahatabba. Through the 4 noble truths, when you contemplate that experience, whatever that thought, where the capital I was, we need to think in terms of anicca, dukkha, anatta, in terms of the Four Noble Truths. Then we will get the answer, netam mama, neto hamasmi, neto attati. This cannot called be me, this cannot be called be mine, this cannot be called like the soul. This only has an anatta aspect, and we come to that realization. In that way, that's the way to get rid of that sense of I, me, myself, when they appear in our mind. So for those type of things, the medicine is from dasana pahatabba. We have to expel that wrong drushti, I, me, myself, by developing the proper dasana, that is samma dasana, samma drushti. That's the antidote to that ignorant way of thinking. Now the second method is to use the restraining. It's called the samvara pahatabba. There are some taints that we only can be removed by this samvara, by restraining. The unarisen, unwholesome thoughts. Unarisen, unwholesome can be practiced this way, guarding the senses, guarding the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. And if an so samvara is you guard your senses. So you're not going to allow any unarisen, unwholesome thoughts to arise. And if any unwholesome thought arise through the memory in the mind base, you have to prahana. You need to get rid of them. The next one is patisevana. Patisevana. While you're using things, like we have to use the minimum things like the food, the clothes, a place to live, and our medicinal requisites. So, we have to make sure that when we use them, we don't develop unarisen, unwholesome thoughts, or we allow the unwholesome thoughts to go on. So in order to protect our mind from that and not to let this greed, hatred, or delusion to develop while we are using these things, we need to do the patisevana. This is why we do the pratyaveksha. Like when we have the food, we say, yo patisanka yoniso pindapatang patisevami nevadavaya namadaya namandanaya navibhusanaya yavadeva imassa kayassa titiya yapanaya vingsuparatiya brahmacharyanuggahaya iti puranang ca vedanang navanca Nupadesami yatra cha me bhavisati anuvajjata cha pasuyarochati. Like that, we use this pratyaveksha for all the four requisites. So we have to use it, we can't avoid it, but we have to make sure. It's like playing with fire, even eating the food, for example. Very quickly, easily, we can get desire. If we don't like some taste, we can get hatred. So it's a place where very quickly our mind can get tainted. So we need to be aware of what we are doing, like playing like with fire. But because we have no choice, if you want to live, we have to eat. So we have to eat. So we are going to very cautiously eat. Knowing the reasons why we are eating, we eat it to support our life, this celibate life, and to direct the energy towards this attaining this enlightenment. So we are not eating to, satisfy the tongue, or to be beautiful, or to be strong, to go and fight karate, or to do athletics, or to go and play, or sing, or dance, or marry, or to attract others. We don't eat like how the others eat today. They have many reasons for eating. Not to support a life and not to live in the pure way, but there is many things. And nowadays, so people live to eat because they forgot the whole point of why they eat. So when we eat, another thing is to stay healthy and to have a long life so we can live that life meaningfully and attain what we have to attain in this very life. But when we forget this, we will abuse, and we will start with no limit. We will start eating all the time. And then what happens? We get sick due to overeating, due to not eating in the proper way, having so much craving and greed. Now we have a lot of problems from starting from obesity, from diabetic to many diseases, because we are using the food in the wrong way. We are abusing the food. So we need to avoid that happening in our monastic life. We shouldn't be eating looking for the taste. So this is why we go also Pindapat. When we go Pindapat, different people give different food into our alms bowl, whether they have salt or not, whether they put chili or not, whether it's palatable to my tongue or not. It doesn't matter. As long as someone offered it for them to have merits, for them to receive a blessing, and also in compassion to this body to keep it alive, we eat it without getting affected by the taste. So how do we do it at the beginning? By reciting, practicing this pratyaveksha. So we don't let the mind to get caught up here or there. Stay in the present moment and eat for the sake of eating, to get life force, to keep the body alive, the brain alive, so we can develop our mind and find freedom from suffering. So with the meaning in the mind, we use this to support us, not we become a slave and do it. So for all the four requisites, that's what we do. We use them very carefully, because it's very easy for all these four requisites to throw us out of balance, to allow the unarisen, unwholesome thoughts to arise. So we need to really take care of this. And so we use this Patisevana Pahatabba. When we use these requisites, we use this method by recollecting why we are doing it and how to keep the mind untouched by what we do, what we experience. That's the method. Then the next one is Adivasana, the enduring. There are some circumstances, some things that we face, we cannot run away from them. Even though we avoid a lot of things, going to parties and, going into the war zone and this and that and the other, we avoid all that. But there are some things that we can't avoid, we have to face. So when things don't go the way we want, and when we face unpleasant things, when we face this cold, heat, hunger, biting, getting bitten by insects, and harsh words from others and like that, Buddha's advice is endure. Be patient. Kanti. Kanti. Don't react. Just know there's many angles to look at it. the anicca angle, dukkha anatta angle, or that's how it is, depending on my karma pala vipaka resulting in that. This is the result now. There is many ways that we can make up our mind and just observe without reacting. Just be patient. And we say in our life there is certain things that we are very patient, and all of a sudden, it gets blown up. So that's when the Buddha says that's the time we really have to be patient. Parakrama dalla. We start from developing that endurance for small things, and then for the we have to increase the levels, and then we should bring our mind to a level where puttassa loka dhammehi chittang yassana kampati. We have to bring the mind to the level where the mind will not shake in front of any vicissitude of life, whether it's ill fame or fame, whether it's loss or gain, whether it's unhappiness or happiness, whether it's gain or loss, fame or ill fame, or blame or praise, like that. So normally we highly react to the one that we don't like, for the loss, for the ill fame, for the unhappiness, for unhappiness, loss, ill fame, blame. We really react. But we should not react. We should observe the things with understanding why they're happening. We should see the cause and the effects and not react. That's very, very important. Patience doesn't mean that you bite your tongue and, you just keep things inward and boil things inward, that you don't show it to the outside. There are people like that. But that's a wrong way. If you do that, we will end up getting heart problems, pressure problems, cancer, all of that. So the real way is not to take it in, not to store it. If you look at it from that selfish angle, with kama vitarka, vyapada vitarka, hinsa vitarka, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of cruelty, that's when they will get stored. It's boiling. But if you now you have learned, this path has to start from samyak drishti. The next one is samma sankappa. So we can't afford to think in that unwholesome way. So we need to think it in a very cool way, very pure way. So then it doesn't get stored, it doesn't get boiled inside. We can sweep it out. We can be non-emotional, non-reactive, cool, in the midst of all the unwholesome, all the hard things that we face. Buddha says endurance is the way to overcome, not creating any unarisen akusala, and we can protect our mind by practicing this when the circumstance is like that. Not on your control, it's so unfavorable, but we are going to learn to endure, to be peaceful. That means not storing in the heart, not bubbling it inside, boiling inside, but not storing it in the first place. You don't store it in the heart or the mind. We learn to let go and be peaceful. Give time. Believe in the time, time is a great deal. Time can change things. Everything will pass. Like that. And Ajahn Brahm has that secret mantra. This is good enough. Like that, we can choose, we can find a way, create our own method to practice when it's needed, when we are facing things like that, the unfriendly, unwanted, unnecessary, frustrating, painful, and the things that we don't want to face. So we need to build in a mechanism. Adivasana pahatabba. So not react, but endure. The other method is parivajjana. It's avoiding. There are certain things to avoid, like dangerous animals that when they are really rough and emotional and when they are agitated, aroused, we are to avoid them. So not only these agitated, dangerous animals, I guess if there are agitated human beings, Buddha says, asevanacha balanam. Balayo means, asatpurusho means they are all the time very selfish and they are full of selfish agendas all the time. So they are all the time charged. So if you see this type of people, Buddha's advice is avoid. Asevanacha balana. So not only the animals, even the humans as well, I guess. And the dangerous things and bad companies, that is called the parivajjana, avoid. Because if we do, instead of avoiding, if we do go and bond, if we do go and make company, it's going to lead to a lot of physical, especially mental suffering. And it can lead to emotions. It can, provoke you. It can give reasons, make causes for us also to develop that toxicity, develop unwholesomeness in us. So when you see these unwholesome thoughts, agitated things, it's to avoid. Then removing, vinodana pahatabba. So Buddha says, what is this vinodana? What do we have to remove and eradicate? What type of things? We have to instantly abandon and discard any thoughts of ill will, anger, the sensual of pleasing, the sensual pleasures, thoughts of cruelty, violence, all that unwholesome thought. We have to straight away get rid of, remove. We know the napahatabba. So akusala, we are going to remove straight away. We are not going to endure that. we have to cut it off, get rid of straight away. So if your mind goes into past, goes into future, and they are developing all these unwholesome thoughts, the technique is cut it off, get rid of straight away. Then the other method is bhavana pahatabba. By developing, there are some things that we only can eradicate through real proper meditation. So here Buddha says this bhavana pahatabba is, you only can get rid of your ignorance is by developing the 7 factors of enlightenment. So in Buddha's today, it is this bhavana that is being translated to meditation. So people think meditation is just sitting like a statue and doing it. No, you saw it's a way of life. It's cultivating throughout the life. It's change of attitudes from selfish to selfless, from ego to egoless. from unwholesome thoughts developing to getting rid of that and developing wholesome thoughts throughout, no matter what the experience is, how hard is the experience you're facing, no matter, doesn't matter. We need to keep on practicing these 7 methods while, it purifies the mind from the sense of self to a selfless. So this bhavana is to get rid of the ignorance, to get rid of not knowing who you are, to know who you are, what's happening, to know the things as they are. We need to do the bhavana, that is developing the 7 factors of enlightenment. That is developing kusal. Kusal means the 7 factors of enlightenment. So we need to practice that. So that is what Buddha taught in Sabbhasava Sutta. Sabbhasava, all the taints. This is how we can get rid of all the taints. So finally, when we practice this proper bhavana, the 7 factors of enlightenment, it will get rid of our conceit, the mana, the tanha, the avidya, ruparaga, aruparaga, all that 5 that was left after becoming an anagami will go away and will result in fully enlightened being an arahat. And so it's very important to understand about this being able to sort out your thoughts and starting with that shift in the mind from selfish way of thinking to selfless way. Selfish way is that thinking, interpreting things in the unwholesome way with that unwholesome thoughts, with the miccha sankappa. We need to get rid of that. And we need to practice the samma sankappa. That is the practicing the samma vayama all the time. So in the Dveda Vitaka Sutta, Buddha says it very clearly. This sutta is in Majjhima Nikaya. So all these suttas I have been talking about throughout, and I thought of putting it into the handout so you will have it in your hands. You can read it on your own. Go and open the book and read it on your own, and you'll be able to see this kind of the guidance, how Buddha is guiding us towards this way of living. Bhavana throughout the life, 24 hours. So when you read these suttas, you'll be able to. So hopefully, this is only an outline, like a summary points. So hopefully this will inspire you all to go and read. And develop the ability to read 1 sutta a day. So you will learn a lot of things what Buddha taught, and a lot of the times when we practice this, there will be questions coming to our mind. And if we start to read these suttas, the answers will start to come. Yeah. So in the Dveda Vitakka Sutta, Buddha says there is 2 categories of thoughts. Dveda means 2. Vitakka means our thinking. So category 1, the unwholesome thoughts. Thoughts of, you know that, yeah, by heart. Kama vitarka, vyapada vitarka, hinsa vitarka. Thoughts of pleasing the senses, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of this violence, cruelty, harmful thoughts. And so what we have to do when we observe this, we need to vinodana pahatabba. We have to straight away remove it. And the other category is the wholesome thoughts, thoughts of renunciation or thoughts of loving kindness, nekkhamma sankappa, avyapada sankappa, avihimsa sankappa, thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of, renouncing, thoughts of loving kindness, thought of compassion. So when we practice that way, mind will start to purify and the 5 hindrances will start to diminish, go away. Mind will start to settle. It will slowly will take you to a samadhi, that proper samadhi. Mm. And also Buddha says in a sutta that whatever we frequently think about and ponders upon, that becomes the inclination of the mind. So if you all the time keep unwholesome thoughts, your speech, action, and the way you live will become very unwholesome thought, very unwholesome, and that will become character. But if you're thinking in the very pure way, your speech, action, and living also will follow that and will be very pure, and you will live like a saint. Because whatever you are producing in your mind, the ponders on, you become that. And there is another sutta that I have been mentioning, Vitaka Santana Sutta, overcoming our distractions, unwholesome thoughts, how to do it. There are many suttas that Buddha have given techniques, and this is one of the suttas. This teaches 5 methods. I'm not too sure whether I have discussed this before. So this is the technique, one technique that Buddha had given. When we have arisen unwholesome thought, how we can engage our gears to get rid of it. There are 5 methods in this sutta. So the first method is, you see the unwholesome thought, what do? You replace that unwholesome thought with the opposite, directly diagonal to that, the opposite thought of that in the wholesome way. Buddha gives an example, if I bring an example in today's life, it's like when you're watching the TV, there is in the channel, there is something that you don't like. Say someone is about to murder and you don't like to watch it. You flip the channel straight away. So then you don't have to go through that horror and the fear and all that. Oh, someone is singing, someone is dancing, someone is teaching meditation, whatever that is, then your attention will go to that and the mind will start to behave in a different way. It will start to settle if it was afraid before. So we need to change the channel. So, like for example, if we are thinking of someone in the bad way, what they have done, we can think straight away a good thing they have done, a good nature, or something, if they have done something good, not just for us, even for someone or to the society, think of that. So then our minds will start to think, oh, how much good thing she has done to me. The only one thing she didn't do, my mind is grasped it. And she's in the bad books, but there is one little thing she did, but there is this 1,000 things they have done to us, good things, helped us. Oh, the ungrateful mind. We can see this, and then we restore into that gratefulness and giving thanks, and then, think of all the good things, so the heart will start to glad. We will be ashamed about we judging them in the wrong way, you see? Or even if it's a good, the correct situation, but we can easily forgive and move forward. If it's something that we need to be corrected, we can do it without an ill heart, but with loving kindness, you see, like that. If it can be too dangerous if we don't have much understanding about this, and our character is not like a loving, kind, compassionate character, and if we are depressed and if we have a lot of ill thoughts, then if your object is about someone, what they have done in the past, don't go to contemplate the good of that same person. Because without you knowing, your mind will take you there again to contemplate the unwholesome things they have said, done, and blah, blah, blah. So it's best, if the mind brings this unwholesome thought about someone did something to you or someone said something to you, the nasty things, and they treated you in the bad way, don't think of them. You think of someone who have treated you the nice way, who have respected you, who have done things for you. And then you start developing gratitude towards them, and it will change the emotion, it will change the tone of the heart. Instead of developing pancha nivarana, the 5 hindrances, mind will start to settle now. So the first method is to think opposite of that unwholesome thought. And if it's to do with the kama vitarka, we are to contemplate the consequences of having those kama vitarka in our mind, where it will end up, how the desires have no ending. No ending to the desires. And how can you satisfy something when there is no ending? And also the consequences when we try to relax in the wrong way and find peace and happiness in the wrong way by using the drugs and the alcohol, the cigarette, the pornography, the TV, listening to music, dancing, going on tours, blah, blah, blah. We can contemplate the repercussions, how it'll only damage us, how it'll do wrong. So this is actually the second method, looking at the danger. Whatever the danger in that unwholesome thought, looking into the consequences and contemplating the dangers hidden in there. When you do that, mind itself will let go. And the third method is ignoring it. Now you have kind of practiced head to head, try to tame it head to head. But again, if that unwholesome thought comes, this time Buddha says ignore it. Pay no attention. You just go to what you being doing. And then if this thought comes again, then we are to still that thought process, bring it, slow it down. And slow down and quieten the mental energy behind the thoughts. Just as like someone running might slow down to walk, then stand and sit, we let the energy run down. We look into the beginning, to the mula, means how did this come to be, why there is so much speed, and you allow that to settle. And if this thought still comes, that means it's a real grudge or it has happened for some time, and it has made a real groove in your heart, So the fifth step, there are two ways to interpret it. Commonly, it's interpreted as what we have written here, but there's another interpretation as well. And it's because of this interpretation, the way it is written, some scholars argue this is not a teaching by the Buddha. This can be found in some Brahmin teachings as well, this method, the way they have interpreted now. So this is a copy from there to here. This is not an original or authentic teaching of the Buddha, this fifth method. That's what some scholars say. And you can see why they say that. This is a contradictory point. In the fifth one, what they say is a forceful restaurant. If nothing else works, press the teeth together, press the tongue against the palate, and crush the unwholesome mind with the wholesome mind through sheer determination. So you can see here you're applying force to your physical body, and we expect the mind to throw away that unwholesome thought. How on earth you're going to do it by crushing, pressing the tongue to the palate and crushing it? You can crush your tongue if it get caught up between the teeth. But how on earth you're going to do that? So the way it is really what Buddha have meant, and how it is just a comma that is being put in the wrong place, that leads to this wrong way of interpreting, changing the whole narrative, a misunderstanding of a word. But including Bhante Punnaji, some scholars says what Buddha is saying here, not to more tense the jaws and press the tongue against the palate, but what Buddha is saying is relax the jaw, relax the palate, relax the tongue. Because as you know, now there is a connection between our unwholesome thoughts and tension. Every time when there is unwholesome thoughts, our body, this thought stimulates certain glands, and the glands will secrete hormones, and the hormones will come to the body, and the emotion. When an emotion happens, depending on those chemicals, our body muscles get very tightened and tensed, and we feel very stressed. So what Buddha is pointing is actually to relax. The most important thing is passadya, a relaxation of the body. That is what Buddha being teaching. Relax. So what we have to do is relax the jaws, relax the palate, relax the tongue. Seeing that, this thought straight away even tenses me so much. Closer to the brain is the neck, the shoulders, the jaw. That is the area that gets tensed first. So this is why Buddha is saying paying attention to that area and relax and release that unwholesome thought. It makes more sense. Why would you tense more and suffer more? As it is, we are tensed. So now release and relax. That's what it is. So you can go with what makes sense to you, you can practice. So in this sutta, there is 5 methods that as how to get rid of an unwholesome thought. Throughout the Sutta Pitaka, there is many other suttas also have outlined some methods. But this is also a very good method, that it has 5 steps. So this is what we have to do in practical life. Whether you are sitting or not sitting, whether you're walking or not walking, whether you're working, whether you're lying down, whether you're doing whatever, as long as you're awake, this is what we need to practice if our mind brings unwholesome thoughts. Because we talk about in virya, effort, getting rid of the unwholesome thoughts, pahana. How to do it? This is a technique. This Vitakka Santana Sutra is pointing out a technique how to do it. So these are the meditations that we need to do first. I forgot to mention here, now it comes to my mind, one of the best sutras for you all to look into is Meghiya Sutta. It's called Meghiya Sutta. It's in Anguttara Nikaya. Just give me a second. My head was getting very cold and I was wondering whether the window was open, and it is. It's kind of getting into winter now. So, Meghiya Sutta. In the Meghiya Sutta, what happens? This Venerable Meghiya was the Buddha's attendant at that time. And they were in, I think, near Besakala. If my memory is correct, they were in an area. And one fine day, Venerable Meghiya went for Pindapath, and he came to Buddha and offered the Pindapath. And then he saw this very nice mango grove nearby the river bank. So he thought, oh, I'd really like that area and I would love to sit and meditate. You know, like the same way we think today, the most of the people think. Put everything aside and just sit and meditate. That is meditation. That's what some people think. So the Venerable Meghiya also was one of them. So he wanted to even stop looking after the Buddha. He was the attendant. He came to the Buddha and said, well, Venerable Bhante, Lord Buddha, you know, can I go to that mango grove? It's so nice, serene. Can I go to that mango grove and meditate? And Buddha actually said, I think it will be good if you wait until another monk comes to attend to me. And then the next day again, Venerable Meghiya went on Pindapath and brought the Pindapath and shared it with Buddha, and then said, Bhante, that area is really nice. It's good for meditation. Can I go and meditate? And then Lord Buddha said, Meghiya, I think it's good if you could wait until someone else comes. And the third day also, Venerable Meghiya came and asked the same thing from the Buddha, and he added a little bit. He said, oh, well, Buddha, you have done what you have to do. You've done and finished with your job. You're enlightened. You're free from suffering. But me, I haven't done anything. And I'm someone who is suffering. I need to do things. I need to work on. I have to meditate. So can you please compassionately let me go and meditate in that mango grove? So then Buddha says, well, what can I say, you know? Go. So he was looking after the Buddha, his teacher. He didn't know how much merit he was gaining from that. What a selfless act that he was doing. But he wanted to stop all that and selfishly wanted to go and just sit and meditate. So he went, sat and started to meditate the way how the people meditate today. Then after a while, he was really fighting with his mind. He started to see the nature of the mind. The thoughts were racing 100,000 miles per hour. He didn't have any control whatsoever. He thought, you know, I'm someone come from a very rich family, very good clan, and I gave up not because I was expecting anything back from the sasana. I went because I really wanted to bring the suffering to an end. I was very genuine. I ordained very genuinely, and why is this happening to my mind? Why can't I meditate? Why my mind is not still? So he started questioning that. And then he tried and tried and tried for a few days. No, it didn't work. It was getting worse. So he came back to the Buddha and said, Buddha, my mind is running, wandering all over the place. I can't meditate. It's not still. What can I do? Then Buddha started to give instructions. First thing Buddha said is, Kalyana Mitra Sevana, Satpurusha Sangsevana. Because what he did is a mistake. He left the Buddha, the best Kalyana Mitra. Buddha said you need to associate the Kalyana Mitra, the Satpurusha, because it is from them you will get the instructions. They are your teacher. So then Buddha gave list of things for him to do. That, he need to be bent on living in the very simple way, and with virya he need to practice this, the effort, the samma vayama. He need to not talk. He need to observe silence, not just from the speech, but also in the mind, We need to sort out the unwholesome and the wholesome, and practice to get rid of the unwholesome and restore the wholesome with the speech, action, and thoughts. And like that, Buddha gave list of things to engage. It is a gradual process. You just can't go and sit and watch the breath and still your mind like that. It will not happen. This has to start from Samma Ditthi. So Buddha said, what's needed to bring the mind to the Samma Ditthi? That needs to be done first. So I need to plug this to my charger. Battery's running a bit. I've got this way. Okay. So then please have a look at that Meghiya Sutta, because it explains. I guess Venerable Meghiya had a similar mind to the normal people who we face today, similar to the normal person's mind. So Buddha explained, it was very clear, you just can't go and sit and meditate and bring your mind to stillness straight away. It's a gradual process, and you need to do this. Then you will have peace, peace of mind. Then your 5 hindrances will go away. So I forgot to put in here. Please check the Meghiya Sutta. It's in Anguttara Nikaya. So gradually, Buddha showed that gradual process. If there was a method that you can just watch the breath and just get enlightened, Buddha would have taught that to the Meghiya, Venerable Meghiya. But Buddha showed the real method, the proper method, as how to get rid of the causes that will bring unarisen, unwholesome thoughts. And Buddha pointed to get rid of them and to get rid of the arisen, unwholesome thought. And then after that, how to develop the wholesome, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and bring it to the maturity. It's very clear, the path in that Meghiya Sutta. And then I also put the Pena Pindupama Sutta. It's in Sanyutta Nikaya. So after you have brought your mind to a certain stillness, it will gain clarity in the mind. So when people came to see the Buddha who already had clarity in the mind, Buddha gave this teaching. This teaching of this Pena Pindukam Sutta, how to dismantle this idea of the self. In that, Buddha pointed out 5 beautiful similes from nature to show that the 5 aggregates, the Panchakanda, are in empty nature of any permanent self. Buddha said the Rupa, the form is like a lump of foam, Pena Pinda, that is floating down on a river. It looks solid, but it is completely empty of substance. So the feeling, the Vedana is like a water bubble, bubula. In a rain puddle, it pops and vanishes in an instant. Perception, the sanya, is like a mirage, maricha. In the heat of the sun, it deceives the eyes into seeing what is not truly there. Sankhara, the mental constructions, are like a hollow banana tree trunk. Kadalikanda. If you peel away all the layers looking for solid hardwood, you find nothing inside. The vijnana, the consciousness, is like a magician's illusion, maya. It is mere trick of the sense that deceives the observer. So it is from this Panchakanda that we have constructed seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. It is through that developing this Nama Rupa that we experience. So Buddha says, look into the Samudaya Vaya of this Nama Rupa, Udaya Vaya of Nama Rupa. How it comes with the causes and conditions, and how when the causes and conditions disappear, it disappears. Hetum paticca sambhutang hetu bhanga niruddhati. It is from that we come to this anicca dukkha anatta conclusion. It is that brings us to the not self aspect, non-self aspect. Netam mama, neto hamasmi, neto attat. If something is in the nature of anicca, it leads to dukkha. What is anicca, what is dukkha, is empty of a self, anatta. And also there is another good important sutta that you all should read and study called the Madhupindika Sutta. It is actually the neuroscience of how the perceptions work, how the senses work, how our thinking starts, how our thinking proceeds, how the emotions come. It's in the Madhupindika Sutta. This sutta maps out how the mind gets trapped in endless painful mental chatter. Papancha. In this, Buddha points how the experience comes to be. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha uppajjati chakku vijnanam tinnan sangati passo. If we had applied to all the other 5 senses, so we are going to talk about the eye and that rupa and that eye consciousness, the chakku vijnana coming together. These 3 is what we experience, passa. Only when these 3 comes together, we experience. It is in that experience we feel the Vedana. Yang Vedayati tang sanjanati. What is being felt, that pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral as, that we start to think. And then we start to develop that the thinking around it, vitakka. And then we continue to compare with old data, memories, and from one thought to another, we start to develop prapancha, we call. So it is here that in the Paticca Samuppada you can see how the Vedana leads to Vedana Paccha Tanha. The Tanha Paccha Upadana, Upadana Paccha Bhava, Bhava Paccha Jati Jara Vyadi Marana, Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasupayasa. This is how the mass of suffering come to be. And there is also another two Chula Rahulovada Sutra, Maharahulovada Sutra. It is in these sutras that Buddha guided Buddha's own son, the Rahula Hamaguru. And in one sutta, Buddha points out to be like the earth, be like water, be like the sky, be like the fire, like that. Buddha says to be strong, not to shake. You know, the earth, you can spit on earth, you can urinate, earth will not jump up and down, it will not get upset. So Buddha says, be like that. Make your mind stronger like that. And then in the other sutta, that's where the Rahul Hamdu got enlightened. Buddha says, that is where Rahul Hamdu realized this, the Anicca Dukkha Anatta aspect. Buddha says to Rahul Hamdu, the Patavi, it's a nature, the solid nature. Out there, the Patavi is Patavi, and we don't call that Ayo, Mio, myself. And in here also, this is Patavi. So if you don't call the Patavi out there as I, me, or myself, or my soul, how could we do that to here? It is the same solid state here. It's the same solids. And there is Apo there. The things in the Apo nature, the rivers, the water flowing. And we don't call that Ayo, me, or myself, or my soul. So that same Apo is in here. So how could we call this I, me, myself? The same with the Vayo, Tejo. So the Bahid out there, when that cannot be called I, me, myself, it is that same nature in here. How can we call this I, or me, or myself? That's when Venerable Bhante Rahula realized that. And then Buddha asked him, that is impermanent, anicca, dukkha, anatta. So what is impermanent? You know, it's not satisfying. It's painful. And what is painful and unsatisfactory? It is right to say, this is mine, this is me, this is myself. Netam mama neto hamasmi neto attati. No. So after hearing that sutta, Venerable Ananda, Rahula Thero got old Arahant, became an Arahant. So hope you saw the map kind of how to come to this conclusion, how to realize this empty nature. That is the proper meditation. That is where we have to come. But you can't get that clarity with 5 hindrances. We need to remove the 5 hindrances. How we do that? By purifying the mind. So there is a gradual process. How do you purify the mind properly? Through Samyak Drishti, embarking from Samyak Drishti, getting into the Noble Eightfold Path. And so with that understanding, when we come and practice on the seventh step, the Samma Sati, yes, Buddha says, yeah, you really need to leave all the other work aside and sit and meditate with your back straight. Ujum kayam panidayam parimukam satim upattapetva. And now that you have stopped engaging on everything and your mind is also very calm by now, there's only one thing the mind will see, it's a shaking of the breath. That's when naturally, because the breath is in focus, you focus with the breath and we penetrate into the breath and work towards realizing the anicca dukkha anatta aspect in that. But a beginner can't do this. They will only get hypnotized because their mind is so busy and they are instructing it to focus, concentrate. And when you do that, that's what the hypnotists do. We get hypnotized and it's not purifying the mind, it gets hypnotized. And naturally, there is an effect when we watch the breath, when we observe the breath, when we breathe in and out consciously, we can relax. So we can gain temporary relaxation, which is a good method to find relaxation, to focus on the breath. But if you want to get enlightened, you have to embark this journey from Samyak Drushti. We need to follow the Noble Eightfold Path to the end. And only at the end, at the last final gate, we have to do the Samma, under Samma Sati, the Anapana Sati. Breath by breath, each breath, we need to be conscious of. This is why it needed the silent place. This is why it needed Shunyagara gato veva, Rukkamula gato veva. You need to be free from burdens and work and duties and all that and go and be silent. To develop this wholesome, the 7 factors of enlightenment, starting from developing Satara Satipatthana, the technique is Anapanasati. But you are already a Sakrudagami by then. It's only a Sakrudagami who does that. When someone comes to the Samyak Drushti, they are a Sotapanna, stream enterer. When they are practicing upstream, they become a Sakrudagami, a once returner. And then it is that person who practices the Samma Vayama, the right effort, properly and brings their mind to the Samma Samadhi, who gains the qualifications to practice this Samma Sati. By then, they are getting ready. Buddha says in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, when you practice this proper way, when you practice this Anapana Sati or the Satara Satipatthana, and you practice the 7 factors of enlightenment, if you stay alive until you finish it, the process, you become an arahat. If for some reason you die or you stop it halfway through, you will only end up as an anagami. So when you practice this 4 foundation of mindfulness and anapanasati in the proper way, you become an anagami or an arahat. Buddha says, not me. So today, the way people are practicing the 4 foundations of mindfulness all in these retreats, we should have so much of anagamis and arahats after that retreat. Buddha says, forget about practicing for a few years, few months. Even 7 days is enough for that if you are doing it the right way. So we need to understand that somehow we're being misled or we didn't open our eyes, so we didn't understand this. So we need to start practicing the proper way. You start from the beginning, things will go right. We can't just parachute into Samma Sati and go somewhere and practice Samma Sati, 4 foundations of mindfulness, and develop 7 factors of enlightenment from nothing. No forces. So I hope you all understood this is a gradual process. And we spoke about the 37 factors of enlightenment last week. And those are the factors that brings the enlightenment to a possibility. So everything needs to come together. So I will stop here and I'll let you all ask questions. We have 15 minutes. So do you all have any questions that you would like to ask? Mm. Is there any questions you all would like to ask? Mm? I think I can hear someone is trying to talk. Or someone, is it Manasa wanting to ask something? So today is my last session. So if you have any questions, please ask. If you have anything, I guess you can message
Yes.
me. But
Yes,
yes.
I could like to ask you, what are the features if someone becomes the first awakening? I mean, the first stage of the
We
awakening.
have 10.
What are the features?
We have like Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa, and Kamaraga, Patiga. So those are the things will start to disappear first. And by the time when you reach to Anagami level, even the Kamaraga, Patiga is gone. And it's after that the Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, and Tanha, Ditthi Mana, the Avidya Mana will disappear only after practicing these 7 factors of enlightenment from Anagami stage to the Maharahat or the Arahant. Those 5 will go away after practicing the 7 factors of enlightenment. It is that 7 factors of enlightenment, the bhavana, that will get rid of that Uddhambhagya dharma. Did you get me?
There are some Pali words I don't understand too much, but I understand the Sada. Sabda is important. I mean, we engage in the Buddhist path. So I think I have some Sada. But yeah.
Were you there when we spoke about the Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya last time? I think I did post the teaching of my teacher as well into the group.
Your hand down. Your hand down.
Yeah, more than that, I did put to the WhatsApp group about talk from Bante Punnaji about Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya.
Yes, some, but all.
Those are some qualities that we need to develop. We need to develop them. So when we know we need to develop, they get energy. They become bala. And when they become a bala, a potential, that can be used, developing the 7 factors of enlightenment. Does anyone else have any question? If not, we can share the merits. Sayali, Kusalachari, remember, I'm not sure we get to sort of. Wait a minute. What is that question? Go to the chat. Venerable, I'm not sure we get to Sotapanna just by intellectual understanding that there is no I, me, or myself. Okay. It's not just a mere intellectual understanding, it's through wisdom. It's by you doing the yoniso manasikara throughout according to the Chatu Satya, 4 noble truths. So in every experience you experience, instead of you seeing, I see, I hear, I like, I don't like, whatever that I should be all the time investigated. And in the aspects of anicca, dukkha, anatta. So when you continue to do that over and over and over, bhavito bahuli kata, when you start to live in that way all the time, mind will incline to see things in that angle. Instead of you arousing your emotions, because now you're not bringing the I, capital I, into the scene, your body will not go into the fight or flight reaction. You will not be arousing all these hormones that have the brain fog, that takes away your clarity, that hinders this clarity, called the Nivarana, Pancha Nivarana, the 5 hindrances. They will not get developed if you think in the right way, the Yoniso Manasikara way. That is thinking in terms of the 4 noble truths, your experience all the time. You need to contemplate. This is called the Yoniso Manasikara. This is called living with that. Bhavito Bahuli Kata and Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada. When someone asks Buddha what is needed to become a Sotapanna, Buddha says, Sadharma Shravana, Kalyana Mitta Sevana. You need to hear this Sadharma, the real Dhamma, through a Kalyana Mitta. And then those 2 are the bonus for you that comes from outside factor. After that is being met, after you have heard the real Dhamma, then comes your homework. Yoniso Manasikara Bhavito Bahuli Kata Dhamma Pratipada. You need to contemplate and see things in that angle. That's when the mind will start to see it in a different way. And you need to do it over and over, and make it into a habit to see things in that angle. Then one fine day it will click. Aha, there will be an aha moment. It will come from within. Yeah. That's what happens. So until that aha moment, until that realizations comes from within, from having the clarity and clicking that moment, you need to practice your part. Bhavito bahuli kata. And Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada, you need to live that way. That's when it will start to click. So now you're not sleeping, you're not really buried in the misled way of understanding, but now you're evoking, you're consciously telling the mind, look in this direction, look in this direction. This is the where the reality is. This is how it is. This is the real thing. This is the truth. You continuously poking your mind like the horse, you continually guide the horse to the direction that you want to take. And after a while, it will run. When it starts to see the path, it will start to run. You don't need to keep beating it. The same thing. You need to bring your mind to this direction to see and align with the truth, to see things as they are. You have to do it consciously. The others only can guide Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. So the guide only can point, look like that. Ye have to see, kind of, walk the path. So whether you are sure about or not, this is what it is. This is what the Buddha, the Sutta says. This is what we practice, and this is what the practice is about. And if you read the suttas, you will see all this. There's so many suttas leading that way. When you read a sutta, we have this mistake by we don't take the context of the sutta. To whom Buddha is teaching that? Is that to a beginner? Or is that to a medium state one or an advanced one, just about to get enlightened? So we need to realize that. To whom Buddha was teaching, like Megiya Hamudro, was someone like people in today's life. So you can see if someone from today go and ask the Buddha, that's a similar answer we get. But if someone who has really developed their mind and got rid of the 5 hindrances and they're already in that samadhi state, which lot of the rishis, lot of the brahmins, lot of the tapasa, lot of the renunciants were at that stage because they were practicing in their tapasa way. When they met the Buddha, they had a very clear mind. So when Buddha taught about the Anatta Lakkana Sutta, a lot of the things, it clicked because they had their samadhi from the samatha way. Because they were living a renounced life. So when Buddha got enlightened, from Bodh Gaya to Isipatana, Buddha went. So there are 2 spiritual spots in India, 2 main spiritual spots. One is the Bodh Gaya area, other one is this Rishipatana area. There is that Rishikesh area also, but that foothills of the Himalayas. But where Buddha was, those were the 2 spots closer to Buddha. And from Bodh Gaya, Buddha went to the Rishikesh, Rishipatana, Isipatana it's called. Isipatana, Rishipatana became the Isipatana. Rishipatana means Rishi, means all these very high mind state masters or renunciants who are practicing celibate life and self-restraining, trying to purify their mind. Even though they are ignorant, they don't have any much of a teaching about Noble Eightfold Path, they're practicing some type of purification. So they even had psychic power. So Rishipatana means when people come from Himalayas, they fly and come and land on this Rishipatana. Rishipatana, that word in Sinhala exactly means the same. The one who is flying, come and land. Rishipatana is called the Isipatana. It became Isipatana. So those were areas where highly developed people were, the highly mind developed, trained people. All they didn't have heard is about 4 Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, the Paticca Samuppada. But they have managed to purify their mind from 5 hindrances. This is why they even had psychic powers. So Buddha went there and taught from the 5 ascetics to the others, and they understood. because they had a very clear mind. So, we need to understand to whom Buddha was teaching. When you look into a sutta, if you know the background, it's much easier to understand the context of it. Is this person with a mental problem, such a disturbed mind, or is it with a normal mind? Is it with someone's mind with 100,000 miles running per hour with a lot of five hindrances, someone with a lot of emotions, or someone who has been already purifying the mind, already the five hindrances are gone, already who had real peace in the mind? And it's like, stages of the lotuses, underground and coming up, 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 up. There are certain lotuses just like that. It's only waiting for the sun. It will bloom. The same way the states of the mind. So you need to map and see where this person was, the person who was asking the question. It is to that person that Buddha had answered. So if we are at still stage 1, for instance, say the stage 10 is the one that gets enlightened, we really need to understand where we are and find teachings for the stage 1. We try to apply the stage 10 straight away. We are not going to get results. Of course, it's not going to give the results. You can't go to stage 10 without passing stage 1. That's the thing. So read the Meghiya Sutta, which I forgot to put in here, okay? All right. So now it's almost 7 o'clock. Let's finish the class to an end, bring the class to an end. So let's share the merits that we've been practicing today. All the merits that we brought from discussing the Dhamma, by understanding the Dhamma, getting clarity through that, and making determinations that I must practice, this is the path, I must walk in it. For some of you, it may have become very clear, this is the path, Noble Eightfold Path is the path, there's no way without that. So those things will be a lot of elevation. It will relax the body and bring the mind to a elevation. It's a quality in the Dhamma that when we practice, develop the Dasaparamita, the 10 perfections, one is the honest one. That means the Satchaparamita, that means when we hear the truths, when we embody the truths, align with the truths, there is a part in the body that relaxes us and brings peace and happiness. So I hope you are raising your vibrations as we speak. So that is what we call generating the merits, the good vibes. So I believe that we all generated that, and we can share now these merits with the devas, the departed friends, the relatives, and also with all beings. May all of them benefit from these merits. May the devas, the divine beings, the angels protect you, Lord, protect the Buddha Sasana, and help you in the ways they can and guide you on this path to understand the Dhamma and to find liberation from physical and mental suffering. May their happiness also increase, and one fine day, may the devas also be able to penetrate into the Dhamma and attain the Nibbana as and when they wish. So, keeping all these things in the mind, let's share the merits with all beings. Ittavitājami Sabbhadang punya sampada Sabbhe devanumodantu Sabbha sampatti siddhya Ittavata cammi Sabbadang punya sampadang Sabbhe bhutanumodantu Sabbha sampatti siddhya Ettavata cammehi Sabbadang punya sampadang Sabbhe sattanumodantu Sabbha sampatti siddhya Akasatta ca bummata Devanaga Mahidika Punyang tang anumoditva Chirang rakantu loka sasanang Akasatta ca bummata Maidika punyang tang anumoditva Chirang rakantu mang paranti Idammi ñātīnaṃ hotu Sukhita hontu ñātayo Idammi ñātīnaṃ hotu Sukhita hontu ñātayo Idammi ñātīnaṃ hotu Sukhita hontu ñātayo. Also, let's make the aspiration that let us not find the association with the wicked and the foolish, but find the association with the wise and the good until we attain Nibbana. Also, let us be able to penetrate into the Four Noble Truths and look into all our experiences from through that angle, contemplating that, and be able to realize the Dhamma and experience the fruits of Maggaphala and attain the bliss of Nibbana if possible in this very life. Keeping those aspirations in the mind, let's chant. Let's chant. Mina punya kamina mame bala samagamu satan samagamu hotu yava nibbana patntya Imina punya kamina mame bala samagamu satan samagamu tu yava nibbana patntya Imina punya kamina mame bala sama dukta pamujatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So first of all, I would like to share the merits and pay my respect with the senior bhikkhunis and also with all of you and with all of your family members, with your teachers, with your relatives, with your siblings, with all your loved ones, and with all the sub-brahmacharis and the devotees. May all of you find good health and long life, and may all these merits be causes and conditions for all of you to find success in all the good aspirations. May you be able to understand the Dhamma deeply, practice the Dhamma, and be able to teach others and disseminate the Buddha Sasana to the four corners of the world, be the light bearers, and help many beings. May you all bring your heart to peace and help many others also to bring the peace into heart. In the heart, to bring the peace in their heart. So may you all attain enlightenment as soon as possible. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful and happy. Sukhi hotu Teruvan Saranai. See you again sometime. If there's any questions, you're welcome to ask. See you.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Venerable Teacher, for your inspiring teaching. So you have finished your 6 sessions of the Dhamma